The next chapter we call Key Performance Metrics because we are looking at those numbers and those acronyms that we throw around in our contact centre all the time that are measured by most of us. So please welcome Anna from Enchhouse.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. So I've been kicking around this industry for about 25 years now. And over that time, it's become super apparent to me how important we think metrics and KPIs are to our centres. The question is, though, are we prioritising the right things? And how well are we measuring up against those priorities? Because in my experience, there can be a disconnect. We measure a lot of things, we report a lot of numbers, but does it often reflect what the customer actually experiences? And that's where we're going to focus today, the gap between what we measure and what we actually deliver, because that's where the opportunity sits. So, what matters most? What do you think was voted the top metric by the contact centres that we surveyed? Shout it out, don't be shy. NPS? Well, we got it in the first try. CSAT and NPS. 63% of us have said that doesn't matter how you measure it, customer experience is the most important metric that we've got in our businesses today. Now that's pretty cool because traditionally we've been focused on efficiency metrics, things like queue time, handle time, cost of contact. To see that switch to, well, how does the customer actually feel about us is a really good move forward. Unfortunately, 7% said it was only slightly important, and 2% said it wasn't important at all. And I think that could probably explain a few interactions we've all had over the years. But the challenge here, well, actually, let's talk about the others. The traditional metrics are still important. 46% of us still think the average speed of answer and abandonment rate are still important. 43% think that first interaction resolution is still important. So the challenge is to address all of these at scale and consistently. High-performing operators, what they're doing though is connecting these metrics. They're saying, what happens to my CSAT if my average speed of answer blows out? What happens to my repeat contact if abandonment rate rises? So they're looking at these metrics together. They're connecting the metrics, and that turns reporting into insight. Let's look at our voice performance. So, average speed of answer 149 seconds, but the median's 55. That's a huge gap. This isn't an industry that is uniformly underperforming. This is an industry which has great variability across it. And if we look at abandonment rate, it's the same story. So the core issue here is not performance, it's consistency in performance. And when the performance is inconsistent, that's when your customer becomes really uncertain. When your customer's uncertain, they start to ask themselves questions. Should I ring now? Will I be answered? Shall I send an email? Will I be waiting? The uncertainty is what drives channel switching and frustration. The leading organisations, they're shifting away from averages and they're moving towards identifying repeat service failures. So they're not asking, what was my average speed of answer today? They're asking, when a customer is experiencing the worst service, why is this happening and how can I stop it from happening? Let's look at our grade of service. So, 80-30. Now that's the most typical grade of service in our industry today. But what's frightening is less than a quarter of us are hitting this benchmark. And it's not an unrealistic number. If you scratch the surface though, it's the same old culprits. Workforce planning issues, forecasting gaps, real-time management problems. The high performers, they're using these metrics as inputs into their planning. They're using them in forecasting and they're using them in their scheduling. The difference here is moving from passive measurement to active management. There's also a cultural point, because if you are consistently missing your metrics in your centres, your agents start to feel really demoralised about it. But if you're using the data to remove those barriers, then they become achievable again. That's going to lift the confidence of your agents and their engagement. Let's move to digital channels. So, average handling times. You can see there that voice outperforms digital. Kind of makes sense. When you have a phone call, it's very dynamic. You answer the call, you have a conversation, you find a resolution, and you finish. For digital, you might put a chat in, you might pause the chat, you might come back to it later. And often agents are handling more than one chat at once. If we look at our average speed of answer, 147 seconds, this is where you might start to get a bit confused though, because the issue is that our organisations are really struggling to measure their digital performance. Very few organisations, 12% of us, are measuring our grade of service on digital, and less than 10% are measuring asynchronous channels like email at all. So while digital is growing within our businesses, so is this blind spot. And if you can't measure something, you can't manage it, and you certainly can't improve on it. We also have to recognise that digital is different to voice. As we talked about before, voice is really dynamic, whereas with digital, I might send a chat, I might then send an email with some attachments, then I might call because I still haven't got the resolution for what I was trying to get in the first place. From a customer perspective, that's one journey. But from a reporting perspective, it might come across as 3 or 4 different interactions. So we need to move away from channel-based metrics towards journey-based insight. The focus should be on, did the customer get the outcome they wanted, and how hard did they have to work to get there? Now let's talk about abandons, because personally I think this is one of the most important metrics you can have in your centre, because an abandon means that your customer has reached their peak frustration. Not only have we damaged the customer experience, but they also haven't got a resolution to what they were trying to contact you for in the first place. So what are our high-performing customers doing? Well, they start by truly understanding the data, not just the rate, but where and why customers are dropping off. They understand the customer. Customers have different points of frustration, and they deflect demand wherever they can, using self-service, IVAs, maybe a virtual agent here or there. They offer callbacks. It's such a simple change, but it can really be a game changer. And they address their resourcing proactively. You have to invest in your workforce management teams, and you have to really trust them. They set their expectations really clearly with the customer. Often, customers actually don't mind waiting, so long as they know how long they're going to be waiting for. And they continuously optimise this experience. They test it, they refine it, and they improve it. Reducing abandonment is not about answering faster. It's about building trust with your customer. Now, let's look at failure demand. Put simply, failure demand is traffic coming into your centres because the organisation failed somewhere else. It can be anywhere in the organisation. So there's some examples. We have a faulty product, the package wasn't delivered, we promised to do something and we didn't, the website's really confusing, or the billing is incorrect. So those are just some examples. Anywhere in your organisation this can happen. But recent research shows that 80 to 90% of the traffic coming into your centres today shouldn't be there in the first place. 80 to 90%. It really changes the way you think about your contact centre, because you can get quicker at answering your calls. You can reduce your abandons. But if the customer experience is already damaged, all you're really doing is becoming more efficient at handling failure. Let me give you an example. So the marketing team release a campaign into your website. All of a sudden, your queues start spiking out. Now, traditionally, that might have been a call to corporate to say, hey, we need some more agents. The key question here, though, is why are they calling you in the first place? We need to take the opportunity to look upstream. Now, Adrian mentioned before that we are pretty nervous in our industry to take on virtual agents and unleash them on our clients. That's fair enough. But this is one piece of AI kit that I can guarantee that you're all ready for today. All you need are interactions being recorded, and you can use automated quality management and voice of the customer to work out exactly what's going on with your customer. Voice of the customer will show you recurring issues. It'll show you emotional signals, and it will show you root causes of the demand. So no longer are you going to corporate and saying, hey, I need more agents. You're now going to them and saying, hey, I can see that there is a marketing campaign with a broken comms message. There's no call to action. I can see it across these queues at this time. We need to fix this. It moves you from being purely a cost center towards being a real strategic partner in the business. Because we have to remember here, the goal is preventing these unnecessary interactions, not just managing them better. So how can we help you? Well, at Enghouse Interactive, we've been delivering customer experience solutions and contact centres into Australasia for the last 30 years. We understand your customer, who they are and what they're trying to achieve. And we optimise your customer journey across both voice and digital. We support delivery through execution across all of your channels. We've got a really extensive portfolio, so if you've got a requirement, we have a solution for you. That includes automated quality management and voice of the customer with AI-driven analytics. We analyse 100% of your interactions, not just a sample of them, and we show you failure demand, bottlenecks, and customer pain points in your business. We help you optimise your performance, improving workforce planning, reducing abandonment, and aligning targets like grade of service with actual delivery. This is where we help turn insight into action, because the real challenge here is about transforming data into better outcomes. Let's wrap it up. So, the industry knows what matters, but we struggle to deliver it consistently. It is that inconsistency that your customer feels the most. And the biggest opportunity, it remains with digital. The future focus isn't about new metrics. It's about delivering on the ones we have consistently. The leading organisations, they're going to connect their operational and their customer metrics together. Because customers don't separate your channels and your departments. They experience one organisation. And if that experience is fragmented, it's going to cause them frustration. But if it's consistent, it builds trust. The leading organisations, they're going to reduce failure demand, they're going to measure their digital journeys properly, and they're going to use AI and analytics to accelerate the improvements. The opportunity here extends beyond reporting. It's about better service design. It's about better operational control. It's about a better customer experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, and well done. We've got lots of audience questions for you. All right, it's commonly held that CSAT and NPS are highly skewed towards customers who are likely to respond. Shouldn't the real measure of customer success be customer loyalty?
That's a really good question. Look, you can look at it in two ways. If a customer is taking the opportunity to give you a measurement on your CSAT or your NPS, they are engaged with you. Mm-hmm. They are a loyal customer. So either way, it's a good result to have that engagement. Customer loyalty, you can't go past that. A loyal customer, you're not going to lose if you make a simple error. So obviously that's the goal, but I think they kind of go hand in hand.
A very liked question, should we just get rid of the 80-30 metric completely?
Again, I think there's a guy called Jim Barksdale who said it best when he said, if there's data, we'll look at the data. If we only have opinions, we're going to go with mine. And that's what your C-level suite think. Data gives you power. 80-30, okay, so a lot of us aren't meeting it right now, but it's still a really good metric. It's still a really good data point. The more data points you can have in your business, the stronger you become. It's about connecting them though, and making sure that it's actually become strategic. If I was in the C-level of any of your businesses, one of the first things I'd do is give a seat at the strategy table to my contact centre managers, because you own almost all of the customer data in your business. We've all got CRM solutions, and we've got salespeople that sometimes enter some information. But for you guys, all of the customer information is coming through your front door. And if you use some tools like Voice of the Customer, then it's really easy to use that in strategic conversations.
Yep. And following today, you'll all get a short survey that we ask you. One of the questions, the main question for me is, what do you want us to go out and research? What's not in this report, or what have we not talked about today? So if there are other things, there are other metrics that you want us to start measuring and reporting on, then please let us know. We'll finish with this question. It's got 20 likes. Workforce management teams are skilled in managing telephony performance, but not in digital workforce management and reporting. Does this gap need to be closed to be successful in managing performance and the root causes of customer pain?
Again, a really good question. And yes, the answer is yes, that needs to be closed. And if you are working with a workforce management system today that doesn't pay attention to the difference between voice and digital, you need to be talking to that business about lifting their game.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Anna. Thank you, Anna.